All right, today's scientific notation. If you guys remember scientific notation, it's just another way to write a number. So what I mean by that is, for instance, another way to write 5 is 4 plus 1. Another way to write 5 is 6 minus 1. Another way to write 5 is 1 times 5. Another way to write 5 is 5 divided by 1. All of these mean 5. They all mean the same thing. So that's kind of like what scientific notation is. It's just writing a large number in a different way. So what you're going to do here is definitely write your objective, please. I don't know if you can see that I'm highlighting that or not. That doesn't look very good to me, but anyway. So highlight your objective, write that. Vocabulary, scientific notation. What I want you to write here is a little bit different. Let's write vocabulary. And then scientific notation. And then just the first line, a number written in the form c times 10 to the power of n. Okay? So, then I want you to write a couple of rules down. So, c must be more than 1 more or equal to 1. C must be less than 10. It can't be 10. It has to be less than 10. So it could be 9.9, 9.999. It just cannot be 10, okay? So write down these two rules for that. All right? Example 1, reading numbers in scientific notation. Okay, so 1 and 45 hundredths times 10 to the power of 4. That's example A. And example B is 2 and 7 hundredths times 10 to the power of negative 5. Okay, so this negative 5, all this negative 5 means right here is that this number is going to be a decimal. All that does is tell you which way to move the decimal. That's all it does. And this positive one here also tells you which way to move the decimal. But since a positive is opposite of a negative, you're going to move the decimal in opposite directions. So for 1 and 45 hundredths times 10 to the power of 4, what's that saying is 1 and 45 hundredths times 10,000. Because 10 to the power of 4 is 10,000. That's 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. You don't have to write this, I'm just writing it to show you. 10 to the power of 4 is the same as 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. This all equals 10 to the power of 4 then is 10,000. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 10,000. Okay? When I multiply that out, I get 14,500. Okay? Now this one, 2 and 7 hundredths times 10 to the power of negative 5. So basically all I did was take the decimal for 1 and 45 hundredths and move it 4 times, which is this number here. So I took the decimal. I'm going to write it over here so you can see what I did. I took the decimal, 1 and 45 hundredths, okay, which was the one I had here. 10 is being raised to the power of 4, so I'm going to move this decimal 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here where I have these blanks, I have to put zeros. So now that's my answer, 14,500. Okay? So when you have a positive exponent, you move the decimal to the right. We're increasing. When you have a negative exponent, we're decreasing, and we move the decimal to the left. So I have 2 and 7 hundredths times 1 10,000th. Okay? So negative 5, now we're dividing. What that means is 10 divided by 10, divided by 10, divided by 10, divided by 10, 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when you have a positive exponent, you multiply. When you have a negative exponent, you divide. That's what that means. So 10 divided by 10 divided by 10 divided by 10 divided by 10 is this number here. 1/10,000. Okay? So this time, since we're multiplying by a decimal, and a decimal is less than 1, this decimal is going to move now, this time, to the left. So, I have 2 7/100. My exponent is -5, so I'm going to move it to the left 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My decimal's here, and all these are zeros. So my answer is 0.00000207. 0.00000207. That's my answer. Let's see. I'm going to go straight to, yes. Okay. I'm going to go straight to guided practice. Let's start practicing this. Okay? So let's see if this number is written in scientific notation. Why do you think it is, or why do you think it isn't? So remember the rules. I'm going to go back really quickly to the first page that tells us the rules about C. C must be more or equal to 1. So there's the first thing. And it has to be less than 10. So remember, our form is C times N, C times 10 to the power of N, right? This is how we have to write it. And this number here has to be 1 or more than 1, but less than 10. So if you look at this number, is it less than 10? No, it is not. So no. And why not? Because 12 3/10 is more than 10. And it has to be less than 10. That's the rule for scientific notation. It's a rule, and you got to follow the rule. 1 2 3/100 times 10 to the power of 4. Is that in scientific notation? So we have 10 raised to a power. That's good. And now our letter C. Is this number 1 or greater than 1? Yes, it is. It's 1 23/100. And is it less than 10? Yes, it is. So our answer is yes, because 1 23/100 is between 1 and 10. And that's what has to happen every time for scientific notation. How about this one? So again, our form is C times 10 to the power of N. I have 10 to the power of N, that's fine. How about the C? No. 0 and 123,000 is less than 1. It can't be less than 1. It has to be more than 1, less than 10. 4. Now let's figure out, so we put a decimal in this, didn't we? To get from here to here, all we did was take the zeros off and put a decimal. So where's the decimal? Between the 3 and the 5. Why? Because that makes it, remember this is how we're writing it, because that makes it a number between 1 and 10. In order to make this big number here, a number between 1 and 10, I have to stick a decimal in there somewhere. Well, where am I going to put it? If I put it between the 5 and the 0 here, well, that's not good, because then I have the number 35. 35 is more than 10, so that doesn't work. What if I put it here? Well, I can't put it there, because if I put it here, then now I have the number, what do I have there? 3, let's see, 3,500,000. That's not going to work. That's less than 1 whole. It has to be more than 1. So 3 5/10 is more than 1, but less than 10. So this is the only place I can put the decimal to make it fit the qualifications for letter C. Now I'm going to multiply that times 10 to what power? To figure out the power, what you're going to do is count how many place values you move to the decimal. So here in a whole number, a decimal is always at the end. That's where it naturally is. So now I'm moving it, though, all the way to here. So let's count how many times I move the decimal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So my number here is going to be 5. That's my answer. Raised to the power of 5. Okay? This one. Now, this number's less than 1. So in order to make it more than 1 but less than 10, I have to move the decimal here to 9 43/100ths, right? So that's where this came from. Now, I'm multiplying that times 10 to a power. In order to find out what power, I have to move the decimal. 1, 2, 3, right? 3. However, if the exponent is positive, then your solution here, this, is going to be a whole number. If the exponent is negative, then the solution is a decimal or fraction. Our number here is a decimal. So that means my exponent here has to be negative. So -3 is the correct answer here. Okay. Now let's write this one. What's the value of it? So I have a 6, a 2, and a 5 right here, right? How many times do I need to move this decimal? This number tells me. I move it 5 times. Because this number is positive, that means I'm multiplying. And when we multiply, we increase the value of a number. And to increase the value of this number, I need to move the decimal to the right. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fill them up with zeros, and that's my answer. 625,000. And this one, now I have a negative exponent. That means I'm dividing. When we divide, we make numbers smaller. I'm making this number smaller. That means I have to move the decimal to make it smaller to the left. 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm running out of room. So now here's my decimal, and I have a 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, an 8, and a 7. Okay? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 7. Perfect. This one, again, negative exponent means I'm dividing, so I'm making this number smaller. To make it smaller, I move the decimal to the left. How many times? 3 times. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, fill it up with zeros. So we have 0, 0, 1, 3, 6, 5. And I like to put a 0 here just to show my whole number is 0. That's all. Okay? You guys try to do these on your own. Pause the video and try to do them on your own, okay? So now I'm going to write this one in scientific notation. Scientific notation is C times 10 to the power of n. So change this to a decimal for C. Has to be between 1 and 10. So we're going to put the decimal between the 8 and the 7. That's between 1 and 10. Times 10. Now to put the decimal here, the decimal's naturally here. How many times did I have to move it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And is that going to be negative or positive? Well, let's look at the value of this number. Let me erase this. Let's look at the value of this number. Okay? Didn't I just make the number less by putting it there, right? So since this number is more, that means I'm multiplied. Since I'm multiplied, this stays positive. The 5 stays positive. The 5 is only negative when we divide. And the last one. Now this one. So again, C times 10 to the power of n. C. Let's change this to a number between 1 and 10. So we're going to put the decimal between the 5 and the 3. Now, the n. How do I determine that? Well, this time, this number, its value is less. Right? This has less value, so that means I divide it. Since I divided, it's going to be a negative exponent. So let's count how many times we move the decimal. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 31/100 times 10 to the power of negative 4. All right. You guys have a nice night. See you later.